Dear son, listen to this carefully. The way you begin your day can shape everything that follows. The peace you long for, the kind the world cannot give, starts in the deepest part of your heart. And even if the noise of the world starts shouting the moment you open your eyes, even if your worries and to-do lists attack you before your feet hit the ground, there is a way to live each day without letting anger or frustration take hold of your soul. But for that, you must make one clear choice. Start your day in silence and gratitude. Don't jump out of bed as if the world is chasing you. Don't reach for your phone as if it holds the answers to your anxieties. As soon as you wake up, stay still. Stay quiet. It doesn't matter if you have 5 minutes or just one. Stay in that space with yourself and with God. Let that silence awaken your soul before it awakens your body. Why? Because in that brief silence, the Lord is already working. You don't need to speak. You just need to be present. It's in that silence that the inner storm settles, that the waters of your soul, so often restless at dawn, find calm. Then, do something simple yet deeply transformative. Give thanks. Thank God for 3 specific things you have today. They don't need to be great miracles. Think of the roof over your head, the food on your table, the health that still sustains you. Maybe you think these are obvious things, but they're not. So many people today don't have what you do. So many would give anything for what you already take for granted. Real gratitude changes the heart, because it pulls you out of the mindset of complaint and grounds you in humility. And where there is humility, there is peace. And where there is peace, there is no room for anger. Next, with your heart now silent and grateful, speak to God. You don't need fancy words. A simple prayer is enough. You can pray the Our Father, just as Jesus taught us. Or you can simply say, Lord, give me peace, wisdom, and compassion to see this day through your eyes. Because that's what you truly need, to see your life, your relationships, your problems, even your wounds, through God's eyes. When you look with human eyes, you see flaws, threats, reasons to fight or defend yourself. But when you look with God's eyes, you see people, you see opportunities, you see paths toward redemption. Finally, offer your day. Don't live it as if it's yours alone. Offer it for someone. Maybe for a sick relative, someone who's suffering, or a broken situation in the world that weighs on your heart. When you offer your day for someone else, your suffering gains meaning and your efforts become intercession. You no longer live just for yourself. Your day becomes a silent offering for the good of others. And that, my son, is the clearest path to inner peace. It's not magic. It's not an instant formula. It's a way of living. And if you begin each day like this, with intention, with humility, with truth, you'll slowly see your heart begin to rest. Anger will no longer have power over you, because your roots will be grounded in something deeper, in something eternal, in God. Son, there's something you must accept if you truly want to live in peace. You don't control everything, nor are you meant to. This need to make everything go exactly as you expect, for people to behave the way you want, for every plan to unfold without a hitch, is one of the greatest thieves of inner peace. Those who try to control everything end up frustrated, tense, and irritable. It's no coincidence that many of your frustrations come from things not going your way. But who told you life had to follow your script? Every morning, before doing anything else, take this small step inward, repeat to yourself, and if you can, say it out loud, these words. Today, I'm not here to control. I'm here to trust. It's not just a clever phrase. It's a posture of the heart. It's a conscious decision to recognize that what's beyond your control should not steal your peace. It's a reminder that the world doesn't revolve around your expectations, and that there is a God wiser than you who knows why certain things are allowed to happen. Some you'll understand later, others, maybe never, but that doesn't matter. What matters is not carrying burdens that don't belong to you. Make it a habit to identify, at the very start of your day, 3 things you cannot control. They can be very simple: the traffic, the weather, someone's mood, a decision made without your input. Once you've named them, let them go. Hand them over to God. This isn't resignation, it's freedom. When you release control, you create space for something new. When you surrender, you allow the Holy Spirit to move where you can't. Now, think honestly. How do you react when things go off script? How do you respond when someone does something you don't like, or when plans fall apart? That moment is where everything is decided. It's where you choose between the path of anger or the path of peace. The key lies in a single word: response, not reaction. Reacting is automatic, impulsive, driven by emotion. Responding is different. It requires a pause, a moment of awareness. And that 1 second of pause can change everything. Before you speak, before your tone rises or your expression hardens, pause, breathe, and ask yourself honestly, what would Jesus do right now? Not out of empty religiosity, but in genuine imitation. Would he respond in anger? Would he lash out? Would he close himself off? No. Jesus acted with strength, yes, but also with patience, understanding, and that wisdom that only comes from someone who has already let go of the need to control everything. There is a great freedom in accepting that you cannot change everyone, that you cannot control every circumstance, that you cannot predict every challenge. But there is one thing you can control: your attitude, your inner disposition, the way you respond. And that, my son, is the secret to living a life where no one, not even the most difficult person, can steal your peace. When you begin to understand this, you stop seeing obstacles as enemies. You start seeing them as opportunities to grow in trust. You stop labeling difficult people as problems and start recognizing them as trainers of the soul. Without even knowing it, they help you grow in patience, humility, and compassion. Just as muscles grow through resistance, the soul matures through challenges. So today, I ask you to let go. Let go of the idea that you have to control everything. Make room for surprise, for mystery, for God. He doesn't need you to control. He needs you to trust, because those who trust live in peace. And those who live in peace no longer get angry or upset over just anything. One of the most common reasons a person becomes filled with anger, frustration, or resentment isn't because the world is against them, or because everything is going wrong. It's because they haven't yet learned to tame their ego. That inner self that always wants to be right, that can't handle correction, that feels offended when it isn't praised, that demands recognition even for the smallest of things. That ego is an invisible prison, and as long as you keep feeding it, your soul will never find rest. That's why I speak to you about discipline of the heart, not fleeting emotions, not empty advice. I'm talking about something you practice, something you train like an athlete of the soul, day by day, in secret, in the ordinary, because no one becomes humble by accident. Humility is built through truth, silence, and service. Start each morning by asking yourself, why do I want to be recognized? What fear drives me to be so defensive? What part of me feels threatened when I'm not acknowledged? If you ask these questions sincerely, you'll begin to notice that behind every anger, there's an unhealed wound, a bruised pride, a hidden need to be in control. But I'm not here to condemn you, son. I'm inviting you to a different path, a freer, lighter way to live. And that path begins in the smallest of things. When you silently decide to do something no one sees. When you wash a dish you didn't dirty. When you pick up a piece of trash you didn't drop. When you let someone go ahead of you and they don't say thank you. That's when you're training your heart. That's when you're breaking the ego's grip. Because the humble don't need applause, or gratitude, or explanations. The humble live by a different logic. The logic of the kingdom of God, where the last are greater than the first, where what's hidden holds more weight than what's seen. I encourage you to try something that many find difficult. Give up the need to have the last word. Do you know how many pointless arguments could be avoided if one person simply said, "It's okay. Let it go." Not out of weakness, not out of apathy, but out of maturity. Because there are battles that don't build anything. They only drain you. Some fights are won by letting go. And some silences speak louder than any argument. Of course, it's not easy. The heart wants to defend itself. It wants to be right, to justify itself. But every time you choose inner silence, you're saying, Lord, I trust that you hold me, even when others don't understand me. I trust that my worth doesn't depend on being right, but on being at peace with you. That's real humility. The kind that relies not on how others see you, but on your relationship with God. And there's something else. I invite you to practice what I call the anonymity exercise. Do something good without anyone knowing. Give a small donation. Send an encouraging message to someone who needs it. Say a prayer for someone who has no idea. Do it without witnesses, without telling anyone, without trying to be noticed. That quiet act is like a seed falling into fertile soil. No one sees it, but God waters it. And believe me, character is formed in secret. True holiness grows in the invisible. Because the soul that grows used to doing good without expecting anything in return becomes strong, stable, and calm. It no longer falls apart when no one says thank you. It doesn't feel hurt when it's overlooked. It doesn't get upset when things don't revolve around it. Because it has learned that its center isn't in applause, but in communion with God. And that, my son, is freedom. The freedom to be yourself without needing to shine. The freedom to love without being loved back. The freedom to serve without being asked. The freedom to forgive without being asked for forgiveness. That's the freedom of Christ. And that is the freedom that overcomes anger, irritation, and judgment. Because when you're free on the inside, what happens on the outside no longer controls you. I invite you to make this inner commitment. Every day, at least once, consciously choose to act with humility. Choose to be last. Choose to remain silent. Choose to serve. This is not resignation. It's courage. It's following in the footsteps of the Master, the one who gave up everything out of love. And if someday it feels too hard, remember this. Jesus didn't come to impose his greatness. He came to wash feet. He came to carry the cross. He came to love those who hurt him. And if you want to follow him, you cannot keep living in defense of your ego. Because in the kingdom of God, the one who humbles himself will be exalted, and the one who serves in secret will be recognized for all eternity. You've already taken important steps. You've learned to begin your day in silence, to let go of control, and to practice humility in small things. But there is still one crucial battlefield where the true fight for inner peace takes place. Your mind. What you think, what you allow to grow inside your head, ends up shaping your emotions, your words, and your reactions. If your mind becomes poisoned, your heart fills with distress. And when the heart is restless, anger finds its way in. That's why you need to train yourself in the art of thinking with peace. This isn't about positive thinking or repeating empty phrases. I'm talking about learning to discern what feeds your soul and what poisons it. Because every thought you hold, every judgment, every assumption, every complaint has consequences. And you are not a passive victim of your thoughts. With God's help, you have the power to choose which ones you allow and which ones you reject. Start by identifying the toxic thoughts that keep showing up in your mind. The ones that sound like, this always happens to me, no one understands me, I'm fed up, I can't stand this person, nothing ever works out. These thoughts aren't harmless. They're seeds of bitterness. They're invisible chains that squeeze your soul. And if you don't confront them, they end up creating a distorted version of reality, where everything is negative, everyone is a threat, and nothing feels safe. So, what should you do? Ignoring them is not enough. You must replace them with thoughts that are grounded in faith, hope, and love. For example, when your mind says, "This is unbearable," respond with the truth. "This too shall pass, and I am not alone." When you think, "This person is making my life miserable," replace it with, "I don't know what battle they're fighting." Lord, give me compassion. This isn't about pretending. It's about learning to see with the eyes of the gospel. And the gospel always offers a word of life where the world only sees death. Here's a practical exercise I recommend. Visualize with perspective. When something upsets you, when a situation feels overwhelming, stop, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, will this matter 5 years from now? Was it really worth getting angry, raising my voice, or carrying this in my heart over something so small? Most of the time, the answer will be no. Because so many of our reactions are born from impulse, not from the true importance of the moment. Learn to step back, to see things from a distance, like a spectator watching your own life from afar. And from that place, you'll see clearly that what looks like a mountain today is just a stone on the path. This practice doesn't erase the problem, but it gives you control over your response. It helps you make a conscious decision not to let a passing emotion rule your entire day. It's also essential that you protect the environment where your thoughts develop. What are you listening to, reading, or consuming throughout the day? The news, social media, conversations full of criticism and negativity. All of it seeps into you like a low, dull echo. And that echo begins to shape how you see the world. You can't expect to live in peace if you surround yourself with constant noise, judgment, comparison, gossip, and aggression. You need to clean your mind like you would clean a sacred space, removing what doesn't belong and making room for light. That's why I ask you to find a moment each day to fill your mind with what builds you up. Read a passage from the gospel. Listen to uplifting music. Look at something beautiful. Breathe in silence. Don't do it out of duty, but out of spiritual necessity. Because if you don't feed your mind with what is good, true, and beautiful, you'll end up enslaved by thoughts that don't even belong to you, but that you allowed in. Son, I speak to you this way because I want to see you free. Free from the anger that comes from judgment. Free from the irritation that comes from impatience. Free from the sadness that comes from repeated thoughts that don't come from God. Because the Lord doesn't whisper condemnation into your mind. He doesn't plant fear, or rage, or despair. He speaks deep within and says, I am with you. Do not be afraid. Love, even when you don't understand. Forgive, even when it hurts. Trust, even when you cannot see. Inner peace begins the moment you choose what to think. And that choice, repeated daily with consistency, slowly shapes a soul that is strong, peaceful, and full of light. A person who no longer lives at the mercy of what others say or do. A person who lives in the world but is no longer stained by it. A person, ultimately, who has become a dwelling place for God. The time has come to talk about love, not as a distant concept or a pretty word. Because love, if it doesn't become concrete, if it doesn't take the shape of visible actions and daily decisions, becomes nothing more than an illusion, a facade. And what isn't real, what isn't lived out, has no power to change anything. That's why I say this firmly. If you want to live in peace, if you want to stop living angry or irritated with others, you must learn to love in a practical way. Many believe that love is a soft feeling that lights up in the heart when someone treats us well, agrees with us, or behaves the way we expect. But that kind of love doesn't hold anything together. It's like a candle in the wind. It goes out the moment a gust of conflict or disagreement appears. Real love is something else entirely. It's a choice, a commitment, an action, and many times, it's a sacrifice. I invite you to begin with something simple yet profound. Listen without interrupting. Do you know how many arguments, how many misunderstandings, how many wounds could be avoided if we truly listen to each other? Not to reply quickly, not to win a debate, not to say, I already knew that, but to look the other person in the eyes and let their pain, their perspective, their story enter into you. Listening is a silent form of love. Because when you listen, you're saying, your life matters to me. I don't need to fix you. I just want to be here with you. Then, each day, I ask you to perform one concrete act of charity. It doesn't have to be grand. It could be sending a message to someone who's feeling alone. It could be a gesture of tenderness towards someone you live with. It could be treating with patience the person who normally irritates you. But do it intentionally. Do it knowing that even if the other person doesn't notice, that act is transforming you. Because love that is practiced without expecting anything in return is the kind that purifies the heart the most. And once the heart gets used to loving without conditions, it becomes incapable of getting angry over trivial things. It no longer lives from its wounds, but from its willingness to give. Now comes one of the most powerful yet difficult practices of love. Ask for forgiveness when you've hurt someone. Don't hide behind excuses like, "It wasn't that bad, they brought it on themselves," or "I didn't do anything wrong." Sometimes it's not about committing a serious fault. Sometimes it's just a harsh tone, a cold indifference, or a sharp reply. Ask for forgiveness even if it's hard, even if the other person doesn't expect it, even if you think it wasn't a big deal. Because the pride that keeps you from asking for forgiveness is the same pride that constantly feeds your anger. And the soul that learns to say, "I'm sorry," becomes disarmed. And once you disarm yourself, God enters. And where God enters, bitterness cannot stay. There's something else I want to emphasize, something very important. Don't wait for reciprocity. If you only do good when you're sure the other person will return the favor, you haven't yet understood the gospel. Jesus didn't say, "Love those who love you." He said, "Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you." And yes, that sounds extreme, but that is precisely the path that frees you from anger. Because the person who loves expecting something in return will live frustrated. But the one who loves by choice, even when the other doesn't change, even when they don't say thank you, lives in freedom. Son, make love a habit, not just a feeling. Let loving become like breathing, something present in every moment of your life. Let others, even those who don't think like you, even those who don't act as you wish, feel that you are not there to correct them or overpower them, but to understand them, walk beside them, and offer them peace. And when your love becomes that real, you'll notice something powerful. You won't get angry like you used to. You won't take everything personally. You won't always be on the defensive. Because true love cleanses the soul of all need for revenge, pride, or selfishness. And a soul that has been cleansed by love is a soul at peace. And a soul at peace has no need to raise its voice, draw lines, or carry grudges. There's something that's hard to accept, but essential if you truly want to live with a peaceful heart. Jesus is also present in the person who makes you uncomfortable. In that brother who always contradicts you. In that family member who never changes. In that coworker who seems tailor-made to test your patience. No, he's not present because of what they say or how they act. He's present because they are a creation of God, loved like you, redeemed like you. You see their flaws, their way of speaking, their difficult attitude. But God sees their story, their wounds, their eternal dignity. And this is where I want to lead you, to a deep place in your soul. The root of your anger toward others is not always about them. It's about how you choose to see them. What part of them you focus on. If all you see is what annoys you, what bothers you, what you don't understand or can't tolerate, then you're feeding a distorted image. Because no one is only their flaws. No one is only what they do wrong. We are all a mix of light and shadow. You too. And so am I. All of us. That's why, whenever you feel irritated by someone, try this small but powerful act of the heart. Say inwardly, with real intention, "This person is also a child of God." They may not act like it. They may not know it. It might be hard for you to believe it. But you're not called to judge their soul. You're called to guard your own. That person, with everything they stir in you, is part of the path God is using to make you holy. They are not a mistake in your life. They are not a punishment. They are an opportunity to love what's difficult, to strengthen your patience, to become more like Christ, who came not to condemn, but to save. It's important to depersonalize the offense. That means not taking everything as if it were aimed directly at you. Many times, People act out of their own pain, their ignorance, or their exhaustion. It's not that they want to hurt you. They simply don't know how to do better. The one who offends is often just another wounded soul who hasn't learned how to heal. If you respond from your own wound, you continue the cycle. But if you respond from compassion, you break it. Let me give you an image that might help. Think of that difficult person as a stone in your shoe. You can't remove it. You can't avoid it. But you can choose how to walk with it. You can complain the whole way. Or you can adjust your stride, change how you walk, and learn something new along the journey. It might not be comfortable, but it is meaningful. Because where there's discomfort, there can also be holiness. And now comes one of the most radical teachings of the gospel. Bless the one who bothers you. Do it silently, within yourself. While they're speaking, while they're acting in a way that grates on you, think, Lord, bless him. Lord, have mercy on her. Lord, help me see them with your eyes. That is what transforms the heart. Not into a cold stone that endures without feeling, but into a soft, living heart that chooses to love, even when it hurts. Not out of weakness, but from a deep interior strength. I assure you, if you do this consistently, you'll begin to experience a profound change. You'll stop reacting with anger. You won't let a single word rob you of your peace. You won't allow a glance or a gesture to disturb your spirit, because you'll be operating on another level. Not from the high ground of pride, but from the depth of someone who understands that the other is not your enemy, but your mirror. That the other is not a barrier, but an invitation. That even the most irritating person can be an instrument God uses to help you grow. And if one day all of this feels too hard, remember Jesus on the cross. Wounded, betrayed, exposed. And yet, he didn't defend himself. He didn't shout. He didn't humiliate anyone. He simply said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That is the measure of the love that heals the world. And it's the path that will free you forever from the kind of anger that ruins relationships, steals your peace, and shuts down your soul. Just as how you begin your day is vital, how you end it matters just as much. Because everything you don't let go of at the end of the day, you carry with you into the next morning. And if you don't release it, if you don't rest in God, your soul begins to fill with weight. Words left unsaid, misinterpreted gestures, thoughts that pile up, wounds left open. It's like wearing an invisible backpack. And even if no one sees it, it's still there. That's why so many people live exhausted, even after sleeping 8 hours. Because the heaviest kind of tiredness isn't physical. It's the exhaustion of a soul without peace. So I invite you to give yourself, every night, a moment of reflection, a personal examen. Not as an act of guilt, but as an act of clarity. This isn't about punishing yourself. It's about reviewing your day with honesty and a clean heart. Find a quiet place, turn off the noise, and be still. Ask yourself without fear, where did I lose my peace today? What made me react? What hurt me that I wasn't able to express? Who did I hurt, even if unintentionally? This moment is deeply valuable, because it allows you to regain control over your interior life. When you skip this reflection, anger, frustration, and sadness start to build up inside. And after a few days, you become irritable, impatient, closed off. But if you take the time each night to tidy up your soul, like someone who puts their house in order, you'll wake up lighter, new, and refreshed. After this review, I ask you to do something profoundly healing. Forgive, in your heart, anyone who hurt you, even if they didn't ask for it. Even if they weren't aware of it. Forgive them silently, within yourself. Say, Lord, I forgive them. I don't want to carry this anymore. Give me back my peace. Forgiving doesn't mean justifying what happened. It means choosing not to live from the wound. It means refusing to drag around the chains of resentment. Because when you forgive, you don't set them free, you set yourself free. In the same spirit, ask God to forgive you for your own failures throughout the day. Don't hide anything. Don't sugarcoat it. Speak to him like a child who trusts fully in the Father's embrace. Say with humility, "Forgive me for my impatience, for the times I judged, for the words I shouldn't have said, for what I kept inside out of fear or pride." Then sit in silence. Let God's forgiveness rest upon your soul like a soft breeze. Because the one who allows themselves to be forgiven sleeps in peace. To close, pray a simple but powerful phrase. You don't need long, elaborate prayers. One sentence from the heart is enough. Lord, I receive your peace. Nothing and no one can take it from me if I am in you. Repeat this phrase like a mantra. Let it soak into you. Say it until your body softens, your heart unwinds, and your mind stops racing. This is your anchor, your refuge, your rest. And if you make this small spiritual practice part of your nights, you'll begin to see your life change. You'll sleep lighter. You'll dream with hope. And each day will feel less heavy, less harsh, less demanding. Because you will be different. Not because the world has changed, but because you'll see it from another place. From the peace God gives to those who have learned to let go, to forgive, and to rest in Him. Remember this, my son. Anger is not part of your true nature. It's a signal that something inside you needs attention, light, healing. And if you follow this path, *** of silence in the morning, surrender throughout the day, humility in your relationships, watchfulness over your thoughts, practical love, compassion for the difficult, and reflection at the day's end, ***, you will discover that the promise is true. If you do this, you will never again live angry or irritated with anyone or anything. Because you will be full of God. And where God dwells, peace reigns.